rice, beans. Beans are the same way. It's less than
Right.
$1 a pound.
Which they're so simple, and I mean, you would really, that's on top of most people's head. They're going to say, I know that already, but have you done it? Have you went out and actually put some back in advance of these things?
When something bad happens, I'll go get it. Well, sorry, that's not how this works. Everybody else is going to be doing that, and it's just going to be if there is anything on the shelf, it's going to be a war zone trying to get it out the door into your vehicle.
If you've already got that stuff in your house, if you've already got that stuff, prepped, then you don't have to worry about fighting that fight.
We've handed over our food security to someone else, and they're here to help you take it back. It's the Farm2Table Direct Show with Ryan and Keith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Farm2Table Direct Show. My name is Keith, and over here to the left of me is my brother Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
And the boss, a.k.a. Josh, is in the house. And tonight we are talking about breaking free from food shortages. Why, you may ask, do we need to do that? Because if you consider the things that's going on in this world right now, like the war on our food supply in the name of climate change, like the attacks on meat animals, fertilizers, and farmers, how about the war in Ukraine? What does that have to do with it? Well, let's talk about printing money. Printing money is always a bad idea because it creates inflation within our own economy. The Ukraine used to be a food basket of the world. Now they're war-stricken.
Absolutely.
And how about Russia's role in the fertilizer? They used to be a large supply of our fertilizers, and so there's no wonder with all of the attacks on all of these things that we are in trouble.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's no chance, if you really look at all of these things, there's no chance this is an accident.
Right. And I'll also mention the rise of artificial intelligence. Some people says, well, what's that got to do with it? We'll get into that later, but I think that those who are already awake know how AI, or the rise of AI, is going to affect our food supply chain. And how about the inflation in the grocery stores right now?
Man,
and the reports.
Man, it's high.
Exactly. And so then just different reports around of our global food supply chain. But tonight we're also going to get into 3 ways to ditch the global food supply chain. And we're going to start off with number 1 and the most obvious one, and that is stockpiling.
Absolutely. And, I mean, that's just one way to go. We've looked at this. You've talked about what's in the show, bro. And I'm going to tell you, man, you look back at the Dutch. I want to back up just a second. You look at the Dutch farmers, what happened to them. You look at the fact they were killing cows in Ireland. You look at the fertilizer crisis. Ukraine and Russia had a deal for exporting grain. That was in jeopardy. Russia was talking about pulling out. I mean, all these little factors that have happened over the last few years post-pandemic that have continued to be this attack, continued to be this war on our food and our food supply chains. And there's just no way that's an accident. And the only way that we have found is the 3 things we're going to talk about tonight. Correct. And I'm going to hand it over to Josh, the boss, because he's our resident prepper in-house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, y'all did mention the fact of inflation. I'd like to add that,
sure,
when you go to the grocery store and see the bill of the things you just bought, it almost makes you want to go out to your backyard and you look around and you see pine cones there, and you're like, man, what's that pine cone taste like? I see my grocery bill. It's like,
I think that's called foraging.
But yeah, I mean, the 3 things we're going to talk about, one of them is what can you do now?
Right. Absolutely.
And so we'll kind of start with that. And what you can do now today is start prepping, start preparing for these events that is actually taking place today. And I say even worse in the near future. So prepping kind of starts with, a mindset, right? So you have to get that prepper mindset of knowing what's to come. That would be, number 1. So the basics of prepping, there's a system called the Rules of 3 of survival.
Okay, tell us about that.
And it's how you, like, kind of what is the most vital things to survival.
Right.
Well, it's kind of laid out like this as an example. The rules of 3 is you can survive 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. You see how it progressively gets,
Okay.
So that kind of lays out what is vital for survival. And there's a couple there that I would like to add that I'll get into in a little bit of the rules of 3. But we'll start with the normal list. The rule of 3, 3 minutes without oxygen. So what can you prepare, or, like, I hope the world always has oxygen here, but what would be one thing that you can prepare for, saying, hey, oxygen is limited? I mean, the only thing I can kind of think of is something like nuclear warfare, right?
Right.
So, I mean, we'll start there.
Like mask or something?
Right. This might not be for all preppers out there, because I know our show's mostly focused on food, so I won't spend too much time on this. So the oxygen, 3 minutes. Yeah, like I said, nuclear warfare. So to prepare for something like that, you get your basic plastic sheetings that you get at any box store, right, for painting projects and stuff. So buy a couple rolls of that, and the key for that is to seal up your doors and windows and drafts. So plastic sheeting and duct tape. There's tons of videos out there to show, the nits and crannies of that. So moving on though, to more of what we talk about, is 3 hours of shelter, right? So that's saying, say if you're out in the elements, you're dropped off in a frozen wasteland, how long can you survive? Well, that's about 3 hours. Same with extreme heat.
Right.
So generally, our parts of the world, it'd be for staying alive from the cold. Right. So, basic preps for that is warm, dry clothes. Having those, most people already have those in their household. So don't throw old coats away. Waterproof is way better if you can go that route. And another that some people might not think about is possibly if you have a wood burning stove, a fireplace. You got to stay warm in the wintertime, right? If electricity goes out for whatever reason, borderline tinfoil hat, EMP kind of style event attack. You mentioned AI, they're starting to come up with scenarios where people can, AI can produce their own viruses and attack on our electrical grid system. World War III events.
Josh, I'm gonna stop you right there for just a second. One of the things that I was taught, when it comes to survival, and it talk about the rule of 3s, and you talk about those things, and you mentioned shelter, and you brought up about heat. But one of the things we brought was a term called redundancy. In other words, having multiple layers or multiple pieces that do the same thing, but for different purposes. So you have more than one option. So if this fails, you have a backup.
Exactly. So the fireplace and clothes would be a backup. You can obviously, if you don't have a fireplace and access to plenty of wood, you can always keep adding those layers of clothes on, and it'll keep you alive.
What about just, finding, shelter, like an old something like as a wind block or anything like that to add to that? I mean,
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But I would think
taps it right out of you.
I mean, I would think that.
Right. Well, something that's going to keep you dry and protected from the elements. Right. I mean, those are big. That's really the crucial thing, that you stay dry. And I don't care if it's what time of year, stay dry. If it's summertime, provide shade, some type of something where you have that element of protection. And, you start off, I know in survival training, it would start off crude. You just did a real basic, and then you began to build upon that.
Right. Absolutely. And the last thing for the shelter, a lot of people might not put this under that category, but I do, is lighters, cheap lighters.
Right. Learn how to build a fire and get a lot of lighters. Right.
If you don't have an indoor fireplace, be able to.
let me ask you this, Josh, and I've heard about these sleeping bags that are just really amazing. I mean, they're like the Cadillac of sleeping bags that are they Sub-Zero type sleeping bags?
Yeah, the Arctic style.
Now,
Well, so I know something we went to in the military. You talk about that. We had a sleep system. It wasn't just a sleeping bag. You had a sleep system. So you had 3 layers. You had an inner layer, and then you had the outer layer, and you could add also a wet protective layer. So you could layer that system, and you could use different parts of it depending on what the circumstance was, how much of the system you actually had to use. But yeah, it was set up to where we had a multiple function.
so I mean, but even the cheapest sleeping bag you can find, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, if you're really on a super budget and everything, hit those yard sales.
Oh yeah,
You're going to find something. But they also have is it a foil type of bag that you can put on top of it's like a solar type
Yeah,
thing?
they got mylar
Mylar.
blankets is what they're called. That's what you see in all the hurricane videos and the survivals of tornadoes and stuff. When the EMSs and stuff arrive, they're always wrapped up in those shiny tinfoil looking blankets.
Right.
They're pretty cheap. I got tons of them, but that's something you can put in like a bug out bag.
Yeah,
that's light and it reflects, I think, like 90% of your own body heat down back to you. So they're paper thin, and you think, oh, well, that ain't going to do any good. Trust me, those work.
So can you mix and match it like with just a cheap sleeping bag and put the but then again, you're still insulated, right?
Yeah,
With
you can.
sleeping bag.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we were just talking about shelter. And so.
Right. Yeah. It's something
staying warm.
small. They fold up to like a 3-inch by 3-inch cube, and it's like full size things, super light. They're, ounces.
Right. Expensive?
No,
Not expensive.
those aren't expensive.
Okay. So
you can get them on Amazon for probably less than $1 a piece. I mean, when I bought 50 of them, but this was years ago, just a block of them. It was nothing back then. This was 4 or 5 years ago, of course. But
so this had, there's going to be different people out there that have different levels of abilities to prepare, but. So that was one of the ones that just about anybody could do just for their shelter, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, at the end of this, I'll actually point to, the ones that everybody should really already have, and, a vitalness.
So what's next on?
So moving on from the 3-minute or 3-hour shelter, the next was 3 days of water, right? You die after 3 days without water.
Right.
So I think everybody should have. There's multiple ways of coming at this.
Right.
You can literally go out to Walmart today, buy bottled water, cases of them.
Right.
Because I would say you need at least bare minimum 1 month per person of water. So a few cases per person of water. If they want to go a different route, they're having a water filtration device.
Right.
Where, say, someone's like, I don't need water. I got this massive pond out back that we can get water from. Well, something to filter it. There's so many different ways to filter it. Like if you don't, if for someone on a budget, if you don't want to buy one of those expensive filters, there's tons of videos on YouTube to teach you how to do this, but initially you just buy 2 5-gallon buckets of water, or 5-gallon buckets, and you layer them with different sediments, and that will filter it out. And then of course boiling will kill.
That's crucial to a lot of that. I would add in, because a lot of this prepping, we talk about it, and it is, global issues. It is long-term survival type things, or, what's going to get you through. But with water, things happen, whether it's a tornado, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's those type of things, where it's an immediate need, and I know one of the things I always remember was, if you know this is coming, go fill your bathtubs up. So that you have, you have several, quite a few gallons that are just stored there in your house before everything goes out, and even I know it sounds gross, folks, but even the water in the back of your toilet,
Yeah.
it's clean water.
Yeah, that's when you're in a pinch.
Well, right, but
we're giving you some of these so you don't have to go through.
go in a pinch.
Did you just say in a pinch?
Well,
So yeah, and then the last one I have here is collecting rainwater.
Right.
It's free. You just have to have a system set up, and rainwater's already filtered. All you have to do then is boil it, just in case something got in your.
well, yeah. If you live in an urban area where there's a lot of pollution, I would definitely
Right, yeah.
recommend that. And
Right, absolutely.
and hey, sad to say though, regulators have made it. There are places where it is illegal to collect rainwater, which is insane to me. This is something falling out of the sky.
That's
it.
Yeah. That's the control.
Those people ought to be illegal.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lock them up.
So, what about cheap ways of filtration?
bucket.
There's some really, really expensive things that are out there that are really great. That's got filters and everything, but in a pinch, if you had to,
The 5-gallon buckets is you literally you'll have most people will have that on their property, that things enough soil and sediments, rocks to filter that out. Again, YouTube will teach you how. You need 3 to 4 different styles of sediment, and they're all free if you have a little piece of property, like very little, for someone in a apartment or something, rainwater and then boiling.
Let's just say they didn't prepare for it. Let's say that something happened, peanut butter hits the fan, whether it's a natural disaster or whatever. What could somebody do like in an instant to try to do that? I mean, what would you do? Let's say you are in an urban area, apartment living, and maybe you've got a 5-gallon bucket or you don't.
Right.
What would a person do just with their natural surroundings for that?
Okay, so you got about 3 days, right? So you mentioned the back of the toilet.
Right.
First things first, grab as many things that can catch water as you can. Go get them set up, because it's going to rain unless you live in the desert.
Immediately water catchment.
Right. Set that up. That takes no time to put, bowls outside, right?
Right.
So you get that prepared for the next time it rains. You get the water out the back of the toilet as an example.
Right. And if you got time, fill up your bathtub.
But I mean, for those people, that was the number one on the list, was simply go down to your local box store and stock up on bottled water.
Right. I mean, it's got a shelf life inside the plastic bottles, but I mean, it's something that you have there.
If it's out of the sun, it's extended dramatically.
Right.
It's the sun that starts breaking down the plastic molecules.
Well,
that's good to know.
So anyway, yeah, that's definitely, because I mean, water, gotta have it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, the next on the list was 3 weeks, and that's food.
Right.
No one can survive 3 weeks without food. Well, so something that anybody can do now, because we'll get to the list of the things that's more long term.
Right.
But for now, it's shelf stable food. You can go down and get a 40-pound bag of rice for right now for what, $20?
Don't know how priced it.
So 40 pounds of rice, that's that's a lot of food to keep you alive. Rice, beans are the same way. It's less than $1 a pound.
Which they're so simple. And I mean, you would really, that's on top of most people's head. They're going to say, I know that already, but have you done it? Have you went out and actually put some back in advance of these things? Yeah.
Once it hits the fan, it's too late. Everybody, that's the mindset that I was explaining. You first got to get in that prepper mindset.
Yeah.
Because if you have the mindset of, when something bad happens, I'll go get it. Well, sorry, that's not how this works. Everybody else is going to be doing that. And it's just going to be, if there is anything on the shelf, it's going to be a war zone trying to get it out the door into your vehicle.
Exactly. Right. And that's what you don't want to wait. As you said before, bro, you don't want to wait to buy insurance on your property after,
Right.
the fires happen. It just don't work like
a little bit late for that. Yeah, and that's all this is an insurance policy anyway. I mean,
Right.
because I mean, you're hedging a bet, but it is one of the things that provides you that freedom of just having that peace of mind. And whether it's bags of rice or and I know later we'll get into probably like the box things where you buy the 72-hour emergency supply, whatever, those type of things. All that is putting that in there, and it gives you a little bit of peace of mind that you got something that's going to carry you through. It's going to give you an opportunity to survive. It's going to help you out. And I mean, that's, and it's something that is so easy to do right now. You know?
And when you buy the things that I'm listing, it's cheap. You can get those 72-hour pre.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
They're not cheap. They taste like crap. It's like
you mentioned right, and you mentioned rice. World's largest retailer. 50-pound bag of dry rice right now, $27.68.
There you go.
50 pounds.
And that's 50 pounds.
How long? And I don't know if you know this
information. A cup a day will help you. You'll survive on a cup a day.
Right. If I remember right, 50 pounds of rice has something like 30-something thousand calories. So, you do the math on that.
Well, let's say just one person 1 month. How long would one 50-pound bag last one person? And then everybody else can say, well, I have 4 people in my family, so you would divide that by 4.
Well, if you're rationing out, I mean, if you're really being conservative, you don't have anything, and a cup of rice is 8 ounces. Yeah. So there's 2 cups in a pound. So 2 times 50, that's 100 days. That's that's 3.5 months, a little over 3 months.
Yeah. Right. If you had right, and that's if you're not subsidizing it with beans.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So, rice goes a long way. There's a reason why, that's the first food that's always given to starving countries because of how it works.
And folks, just let me remind you here just real quick, what we're talking about is getting off of the food supply chain to the best of your ability. Prepping is something that we all should do, but with the backdrop being that we all should take back control of our food supply, and we're just trying to shorten the food supply chain here. But we're gonna get back into it. Right. I just want people to remember that aspect.
Exactly. So this first step here on our steps of 3 here is not. It's not breaking the chain yet.
Right.
This is preparing for when it breaks.
Right.
So. Another one's basic canned goods. Keep the outside of it clean as long as it don't rust. They survive long after their best by day. Yeah,
best by day.
And so anyone who doesn't want to stock up on this stuff, and they're like, maybe, that's a waste of money, is something we've talked about before, is like, well, beat inflation. Simply go out and buy what you're going to use anyway. Even though what I listed, the rice and beans sealed, they're good for 20 years.
Right.
Canned goods are good years after their expiration date if they're not rusted. Just get out there, buy your normal groceries, just buy months worth in advance and use them as you go. Stay ahead of
and rotate
months.
Right.
Yeah. Rotate it.
Replace it as you use it. Rotate it around.
Exactly.
I know that was one of the things that was crucial when I was reading and figuring out was exactly what you just said of buy things you're going to eat. Buy things you eat now, that you're going to consume. Because if it's something you hate, why put it in your store?
Right.
Because you're not going to eat it. And if you do, you're mad. Right. Rice and beans is that thing that carries you through a long period of time, like you said. But you've got, like I said, the canned goods and the things that you can store up that you're going to use.
Right.
So and it's still cheap, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The rice and beans portion, the reason you buy those is because they're good for years and years.
Right.
So that without that, like I got tons of it. But I don't eat rice and beans on a regular. Well, I eat a lot of rice actually, but not in my preps. I just go buy more rice, the fancy rice. But anyway, it's so the point is on those preps is just long term, stability.
Okay, so let me ask you this one, boss. let's say that you've already taken care of your like short-term stockpile. Is there something you would focus on next after you got your short-term security?
Okay, so yeah, I added a little flavor to the rules of three. So
like
it goes
Spice.
from 3 minutes or what I say, 3 minutes to 3 weeks.
Yes.
Right.
So there's 3 that I added. So one of them, I'll go further, is 3 months, and I would say it's hard to survive without information after 3 months. Say something happens and we're shut down for 3 months. Grid goes down, something like that. Well, the world, we've seen, especially after that thing from that lab come about around 2020.
Whatever are you talking?
So we've seen how quick the world can change. Right. So if something like that, an event like that happens, and you don't know how the world is, you just come out of your bunker or something after 3 months, not knowing that, hey, everybody caught with this item is getting killed and getting robbed. Salt is the new gold or something like that.
Right.
You're lost. Or hey, stay away from this group because they're out to cause you harm. So I say 3 months without information. So for prepping with that is a shortwave radio.
Okay. Right.
So they got hand crank ones on Amazon.
I've seen those, right?
You can get a basic shortwave radio for fairly cheap.
Right. Now that's just a receiver. That just
just the receiver.
Right.
You can go further, and you can, buy one that you exchange information.
But the main thing is receiving information.
Right. You got to receive that information to know, what kind of situation you're walking into. Because if you don't know who the bad guy is, you're done. I mean,
If nothing else, you can listen. Even if you don't speak, or because when you speak, you really do reveal your location to the people who are really good at triangulation, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that you brought up that. I hope you don't mind me cutting in just a minute, because you were saying information, and folks, I think I know that me and Ryan both have this particular book, and I recommend everybody having that.
Right.
And
Go out,
interesting read.
Go out and search it out. It's just packed full of information on different aspects of survival, but how you're gonna, different things you can implement. And it does have to do with shelter. It has to do with water. It has to do with food. It has to do with a lot of things, from storage to just making things that are going to get you through a period of
information.
Time. It's just information. That's it.
Okay. So and one of the other ones I added of the 3s that's not on the original was I took it down less than the 3 minute, and I went to 3 seconds.
Okay.
And you will not survive a gunfight without your own gun and your own ammo for 3 seconds.
There you go.
3 seconds without the ability to defend yourself.
Exactly. So, I mean, when everybody else is coming for what you have prepped, what's the point of prepping if, on day one it's taken from you?
Right.
Well, you got to be able to defend yourself, your family, and
your
support. People's coming after. So 3 seconds.
Right. And I will even add a caveat onto that 3 seconds, is depending on where you're at, depending on what your circumstance is, there is wildlife that wants to eat you.
Right.
Okay. You have to be able to defend yourself, whether it's against a human or whether it's against an animal or whatever. You've got to be able to defend yourself.
And the best way for the common person would be a firearm.
A firearm of some kind.
You can't go hunting with a sword.
Can't win a knife with a gun. You can't win a gunfight with a knife. I mean, that's just...
So, and to wrap the 3s up here is I went 3 millisecond without spiritual protection, because 3 milliseconds without God, you're done for in a spiritual fight.
Right. absolutely.
Absolutely, bro.
And I want to point out, I mean, this is that beginning. This is that get you through event. And when you start looking at how much to store, it really is store enough to get through to the next phase. It's to give yourself time. It's buying yourself time. That's all that is.
Right. It's buying yourself time. And that reminds me of something that you've said before, bro, and that the shelves only have enough supply to last about, did you say 3 days?
Maximum is about 72 hours.
72 hours.
About 3 days is about the most that most retailers keep on their shelves. And I will, as I have said before, we live down here in tornado country, and we live down here in snow. And we don't get snow and ice like they do up north, but we know as well as when the forecast is snow, good luck.
Right.
If you wasn't there day one when they announced it, you're probably stuck eating hot dog buns, because that's about all that's going to be left, because they are going to clean the shelf.
No hot dogs.
Well, they don't. I'm just saying it. You're going to be down to whatever's left over, because people raid this stuff like nobody's business, man. And it's like, so
Water disappears.
If you've already got that stuff in your house, if you've already got that stuff, prepped, then you don't have to worry about fighting that fight.
Right.
So, I mean,
and to wrap all this segment up, I'll throw out the basic things that somebody should get today without question. And I'll do it at under, let's say $150. So the cheapest, quickest way that anyone can do it today, would be first and foremost, bottled water. Go get a few cases of bottled water, stock it up, get a 50-pound bag of rice, a 50-pound bag of beans. You're good to go. Little candles. People don't think about this.
Tea candles.
So those little, what they
call them tea candles.
Tea candles. Yeah. You can get packs of those for like, a pack of, I think like 24 for like $1 or $2.
Right.
So bottled water, rice and beans, candles, meds. If you're on life-saving meds, try to get extra supply of those before anything happens. And if they're not necessarily life-saving, but they're still critical, learn the natural ways that can combat that. So if you got a thyroid issue, learn that, it's something like kelp, eating kelp, can take this. And batteries, flashlights, and I'm done.
Okay.
Just like that. That's under 150. That's 150 bucks or less.
And then, you got 100 pounds of rice and beans.
And I'll throw on to that. I mean, if you go into like the world's largest retailer and you go in the camping section, there's these little burners, just a little burner that you can buy. They come in big packs too, just like the candles do. And you can light that underneath and heat up a can of something to eat, or you can heat up a thing of, and they're storable. They last a long time. And, so if you don't have access to firewood and you don't have access to some, electrical or some way to make fire, I mean, those little burners are just awesome little things. So, and they're cheap.
Right.
So.
Now, all of these things may seem quite elementary to some of you guys that are out there, and a lot of our listeners. I know you guys are right on top of this, maybe even better prepared than we are. But there are still people out there that's got their head in the sand.
Unfortunately, some of them by choice, and some of them by
People just don't want to deal with it or face it or to even believe it. Hey, y'all, if y'all found this first part very informative, we hope that you'll join us in part 2, where we finish teaching you how to ditch the food supply chain. I hope you'll join us. Click right here or here, wherever that thing's at.